shoot day. All this gear. All that has to, first of all, get into my car. Then I have to get to the studio. So that is step one. Wow, that's step two. Step one is coffee.
Something that I've found incredibly valuable and truly enjoyable is passion projects. They're very difficult and oftentimes very stressful, but they really do refuel those muscles that we have to flex every day to make the things that we want to make. So what project am I going to make?
What I'm making is an experimental fashion film. Why? Because I've never made one before. And I made a promise to myself to make at least 3 passion projects this year. So that's kind of what we're talking about today is 1, giving you a behind the scenes look at what it takes to actually make a fashion film, and 2, the importance of passion projects.
Passion projects overall, unless you're very lucky, and if you are, good for you, are usually done on like a shoestring budget, and as a result, you have to do a lot of the mental and physical lifting yourself.
That's everything.
So like I said, I wanted to make one because 1, I had never made one before, and 2, I wanted to know how I would handle making a fashion film. So I contacted a rental space in the Rhino area of Denver, and I went to the studio. It's a place called Gasmoney Studios.
Just got to the studio. It's kind of like a New York naturally lit loft style spot with a cyc wall. If you don't know what a cyc wall is, it's like one of those big white walls that kind of goes like that. So now I gotta take all that gear that I put in the car and put that in the studio. So I'm gonna go do that.
I will be the first in line and certainly not the last in line to tell you that the gear doesn't matter, but I will also tell you in the same breath that a sharper knife cuts better than a dull one. So having the best tools at your disposal can be incredibly helpful and a lot of times very valuable to the production as a whole.
Let's go on a little tour. Okay, first things first, lighting.
These are some really interesting lights. These are called Quasar Science Q50Rs, and these are 4 matching 4-foot tubes. They're all RGB WW, which means
basically what that means is that they can control red, green, blue, as well as both different whites. So you have soft white and you have cool white. So that's 5600 and 3200 Kelvin.
Then we have our director's viewfinder. This is what's going to be around my neck for the most of the day, and I'm going to be watching what's coming out of camera. This one over here is the bigger one. That's my focus puller, and also known as our first AC, is going to be using to make sure that we're always in focus. This little jobby is called an easy rig, and that's going to make the job of our camera operator much easier because that can take the weight of the camera and put it around his waist. This is the Tilta Nucleus M, so we can control zoom and focus all at the same time. This is the zoom lens that we'll be using. That's the Angenieux EZ2 15 to 40 mil. We have wireless transmission, also known as our Teradek.
Because I didn't really get a test day to actually make sure that everything worked perfectly, Sean and I, my director of photography, are going to make sure that everything works perfectly and that the shots that we're going for are actually going to work in the space. So for this project, I have a Blackmagic Ursa Mini 4.6K G2, a cinema zoom lens, and remote lens control. Why? For one very good reason. These tools get out of the way of the creative process, and that is the main reason to buy anything, because that allows you to get to the creation and like the whole creative process a lot more seamlessly, and it allows you to visualize those things you have in your head more efficiently. So what's the style of this shoot? Well, it's like a Euphoria themed thing. Reason being is that it's one of the most visceral and like visually stimulating programs that I've seen in a very, very long time, and it inspired me to create something of my own. The other thing about that show is that the makeup that's used on the actors is all kinds of creative. So I actually reached out to a local makeup artist and a few friends that model in Denver and asked them to be a part of the project as well. Which actually brings me to a really important point about passion projects, which is collaboration. Since I have little to no money behind this project and everybody is essentially doing this for free, I want to make sure that all the people involved feel like they are gaining value from the project. The models that I'm using get to showcase their talent as models because they have content to showcase it by virtue of this project that they're a part of. Likewise, my director of photography has a very strong hand in the lighting and the shot style that we're using in this project. So he has content that he's proud of because he has ownership over those shots. So he's going to show that to potential clients or put it on his reel. So that's his value gain from this project too. So here's the thing about doing shoots like passion projects is the people involved need to actually get
something valuable out of it, because they're not doing it for money, so they need to be doing it for another very good reason. Josiah is shooting photos for me. Normally he works as a director of photography, but what he wants to do is take more photos. So I gave him the opportunity to do so on this set. I made sure to have that opportunity for him. Likewise for hair and makeup. She wanted to do something that was more avant-garde. She wanted to do something that was more in the film and video world. So I gave her the opportunity to do that and let her have creative free reign over what the actual makeup and the artwork looked like. I was open to her suggestions and I was receptive to her needs and wants. So it's important to have that very valuable give and take between the people that are working and the people that are making.
I also believe in opening up my sets to other creatives to simply be on set and have a hand in the collaboration process of shoots like this. For instance, my friend Brian, who is a photographer, and my friend Alden, who is actually the manager of this studio in Denver, they both joined me on set during the shoot at one point. And I love having people like that on set. So having more minds working together on set is always better for content creation. The wardrobe was also a really important component to this project, because looking at Euphoria, my favorite moments were always when the lighting and the sets were crazy, but the characters that were involved in those shots were usually dressed up in like very comfortable and what I would describe as relatable outfits. So I actually sourced a local vintage shop called Thrift here in Denver, and they absolutely came through with some amazing pieces that we put into the project, which you can see in the final video. So with all these people involved and everybody really stoked on the process, we finalized all the lighting setups and then we got to work. Just like that, a 6-hour shoot just flew by. So all that's left really was just to pack up the gear, steal some stuff from craft services, which, by the way, if you're doing a free shoot, make sure you have good food. That is so important, and coffee. Overall, shoots like this, specifically anything that is in the advertising or commercial realm, like fashion shoots, they're very difficult because a passion project doesn't have set metrics that it's trying to abide by or meet. It doesn't have a delivery date. It doesn't have clients behind it. It doesn't have expectations. And when you have expectations, you have something to work toward. But with something like a passion project, there's no safety net, or there's certainly no cap that you have to reach. And that can be daunting and, in many cases, very scary. But if you just put that aside and you just make something because you want to make it, it unlocks like that wacky and weird part of your brain that made you want to make films and make content in the first place. So it very much does, like I said at the beginning, flex those muscles that we use day to day to create content. And for that, there's little else that compares. And so that's why people do passion projects, and that's certainly why I did this one. If you want to see the finished product, the link is in the description below. I hope that you like it, and I'll catch you in the next one.